That's part of the job. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. This is our regular business meeting for Tuesday, February 3rd. I appreciate everybody coming in today. I know we're all a little hurt at the heart after the Super Bowl loss, but you know, it just goes to show you you're one fraction of a step away from greatness or not. You know, I'm still absolutely proud of them. Can't believe what they did. With that, let's go ahead and begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. Sheriff, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Tim Sheldon.
I'm here as well.
Commissioner District 3, Terry Jeffrey. Here.
Excellent. Item number 4, do we have any correspondence or organizational business to come before the body?
Yes, we do. The Washington State Liquor Control Board sent a list of businesses with liquor licenses due to expire on April 30th, 2015. Ken Van Buskirk sent grant information for consideration regarding improving land use management in Puget Sound watershed. Fire District 13 sent notice that they have appointed Stan Lurcher to the EMS Council and Rachel Cromer as alternate. Bonnie Stevenson submitted an appeal and filing fee to the hearings examiner. And the Belfair Sewer Advisory Committee sent a letter regarding adopting a resolution to form a Citizens Utility Advisory Committee.
Thank you very much. Is there any other organizational business or correspondence come before us? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move forward with item number 5, which is our open forum for citizen input. At this time, you'll be given up to 5 minutes as an individual to speak on issues that are not on the agenda. If they are on the agenda, we would ask that you would hold off, wait till they come up at the agenda, and you can testify at that time. If there's anything you would like to speak about now, you'll be given up to 5 minutes, 15 minutes total for everybody, and then we'll go ahead and move forward to the rest of the agenda. With that being said, are there anybody in the audience who has anything they would like to testify or talk about or inform us about at this time? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move forward to item number 6, which is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of County Commissioners adopt the agenda as presented today.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the adoption of the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item number 7, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the January 20th and 27th regular meeting minutes as written.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
It has been moved and seconded for the approval of the regular meeting minutes for January 20th and 27th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to item number 8, which is our action agenda. All these items will be enacted by one motion unless a commissioner or a citizen asks that it be taken off for a separate vote. But you will also be given an opportunity, after we read all the statements to you, to ask a question if it would help you to decide whether or not you'd like to have it taken off for a separate vote. I will do item number 8.1 through 8.3. Commissioner Sheldon, will you do 8.4 through 8.6? And Commissioner Jeffries, will you do 8.7 and 8? Item number 1, approval of resolution to increase the Auditor's Election Fund revolving checking account balance to $5,000 by amending Resolution 96-01. This increase is due to the increasing postage rates in recent years and is necessary to provide adequate funds for mailing ballots and election material. Item number 8.2, approval of the warrants. Claims Clearing Fund, warrants number 801-7914 through 801-8323 for the amount of $891,691.46. Claims Clearing Fund, warrants number 801-8550 through 801-8667 for the amount of $232,982.57. Salary Clearing Fund, warrants number 7000799 through 700825 for the amount of $24,204.28. And the direct deposit fund, warrants number 19436 through 19811 for $626,960.95 for a total of $2,175,839.26. Item number 8.3, approval of the Veterans Assistance Fund applications for food, $150. Housing, $600 for a total of $750 as recommended by the Veterans Service Office.
Mr. Chairman, 8.4, approval of the board to authorize Public Works to advertise set bid opening date, time, award contract, and allow the chair to sign all pertinent documents for 2015 manufacturing and stockpiling of chip seal aggregate. Contract award will be announced during a regular meeting of the board. 8.5, approval of the board to authorize Public Works to solicit bids for snow retention guards for the Public Works building with the insertion of, quote, no substitutes, unquote, to the S-5 snow rail system. And 8.6, approval for the board to authorize Public Works to advertise set bid opening date, time, award contract, and allow the chair to sign all pertinent documents for call for bids to furnish Mason County with emulsified asphalt for 2015. Contract awards will be announced during a regular meeting of the board.
Item 8.7, approval for the board to authorize ER&R to declare surplus certain vehicles and equipment for the Washington State surplus sales. 8.8, approval for the board to authorize Public Works to advertise, set bid, date, time, award contract, and allow the chair to sign all pertinent documents for routine paint striping for 2015. The contract award will be announced during a regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioners. With that being read to the public, is there anybody in the public who has any questions that would help them to decide whether or not to have something taken off for a separate vote? Yes.
Commissioner, just a question on 8.1.
8.1? Okay, what was your question?
How much of an increase is that? Where did it start?
2,500.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, is there anybody in the audience who would like to have an item taken off for a separate and specific vote?
8.2.
8.2. 8.2? Interesting.
8.2.
Okay. Are there any other items from the audience? Hearing none, are there any items that the commission would like taken off for a separate vote? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion with the exception of 8.2.
Chair, I'd move that the County Commissioners approve items 8.1, 8.3 through 8.8.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman, for that approval.
It has been moved and seconded for the approval of the action agenda items 8.1 through 8.8 with the exception of 8.2, which will be taken off for a separate vote. Any discussion? Comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Item number 8.2. How would we like to present that one? We don't, oh, please, come on up and,
Thank you, Commissioners. Tom Davis, 170 West Bushy Road. And the reason I wanted to bring some attention to that is for Commissioner Sheldon's suggestion that we start having a total, if not a running total, at least a total for the total of the warrants, which are categorized into basically 3 categories. And I never have any problem with too much information, but I do have a problem with not enough information. And there's not enough specificity to draw any conclusions by just totaling the amount of the warrants. For instance, the cost overruns for capital improvement projects are included in the warrants, but they're not specified, they're not segregated out, nor is the award for lawsuits segregated out. So if we're going to draw any conclusions from the aggregate of, let's say we get down to the budget hearings and we say, okay, it's cost us $15, $20 million so far to run government, that would be relevant of almost nothing. Because without specificity, you could draw conclusions which would not lead you to the right direction. For instance, if you have a contract that had cost overruns and you were looking for efficiency in government, you'd want to look to that particular contract and that particular department and ask the questions why that happened. And that might improve government. But to take, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because I assume there's a reason for adding these all up and having this, this process in place.
And I would hate to see us go down the road, and then when budget time comes and says, okay, government's too expensive, we have to live within our means, therefore, because there were cost overruns in one department, we have to start laying off people or something else in another department. It would accomplish nothing. So I just wanted to get ahead of the curve here and bring your attention to this, that I didn't want it to be used as a pawn for shrinking government unnecessarily. Because as a taxpayer, I obviously want to continue the government services. That's what we pay for. So I didn't want that to be used as a political pony in that sense. So that's the only reason I brought it to your attention. I have no problem at all with the warrants themselves.
Thank you, Tom. Commissioners, any comment on that?
Well, Tom, thank you for your comments. At last month, or I think it was last week's meeting, that I suggested that we just have a total of the warrants that we pay each month, and I thought that was important just for the public to know that the magnitude of over $2 million every couple weeks is lots of money. I think your point is well taken about watching what we spend and in what categories, if we're overspent or underspent. We do have a report each month. I don't see Frank here, our budget manager, but we do have a report, of course, every month that is available to the public on how our departments are doing, and that should be obviously a lot more information than what we have here. But this is a function that we have to do for the local government to authorize those warrants to be paid. So.
Yeah, the warrants are quite general.
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner, did you have a comment?
Well, I'm trying to figure out very quickly on the fly how we would be able to give you the type of detail with the number of individual expenses. For instance, cell phone costs. Each of the departments will put in their request to pay a cell phone bill. However, would you want to see each line item of Department X's budget for cell phones versus where they are? Or I'm not quite sure what type of information, how detailed
Maybe I
to
didn't make
get.
myself clear. I just didn't want any conclusions to be derived from adding these up. In other words, adding these three categories up each week and then have an aggregate cost.
I see.
And that's all. I just didn't want to use that as weight for some other argument about government being too expensive. I don't want any more specificity. I just say if you're going to go down that road, then you're going to have to include specificity. That was
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Tom, I'd like to add, you had mentioned about exceeding contracts and payoffs, legal, all important things, but those usually do show up in our action agenda. If there's a contract, we have to change the contract because we're spending, that shows up into the under it. And any payoff that we would do for anything that was done wrong, it shows up as well, just to point out. But I have to agree with Commissioner Sheldon with having it. I understand your issue, but having it there for not just for the public, but for us to realize the magnitude of the decisions that we make, I think it's a good thing for us to remember and having to look at those numbers. This time you keep referring to 3. This time it's 4, but usually you're right. It's 3 different items. But no, just looking at that number, I got to admit it humbles me a little bit. So I think that there may be a positive effect to having it there.
As long as we don't have any conclusions drawn.
No.
Well, Tom, I'll just at the risk of beating a dead horse, I'll just say, I think when you have a column of figures without the total, it's a column of figures. I like to see it. I don't know. I've done bookkeeping for firms, or in my life in younger days, I was business manager for other organizations. When I guess it's just me. When I see a column of figures, I like to see the total. So I think it's important just to have the total. It's a small item, but I appreciate your comments about that.
Is there any further comments or questions in regards to item number 8.2? Commission, anything further?
Well, I think one of the things he said that was intriguing is perhaps a running total.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if how much extra work that would be, but then separated from claims clearing and salaries, just to say this is our running total on salaries up to this point in the year versus other operations and maintenance costs. I think it's something to look into. I don't know.
I think we'll all agree. We will look into that and see what we have for future meetings on that. But I think he's looking for more specificity, but also I understand the point he'd hate for us to say, because we're spending so much, we're gonna cut all this. But I don't think that's gonna occur from the bench up here. That'll occur through a whole different process. With that being said, I would be...
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve item 8.1, approving the warrants for a
8.2?
total of $2,175,839.26.
Would you be willing to change that motion to 8.2?
Did I say? Okay, I apologize, 8.2. Yes.
And I'll second the motion to approve 8.2, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. It has been moved and seconded for the approval. Item number 8.2, approval of the warrants. I will not go through and list, but I'll list the total of $2,175,839.26. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries. And we are early. Let's go ahead, if you don't mind. Is there any department heads? We're going to move and jump over item number 9, move to item number 10. Is there any department heads or elected officials, department heads first, who would wish to speak at this time? Our elected official ran out. Where'd he go? So are there any elected officials that I don't see? No? Hearing none, then we will go ahead and jump past item number 10 and move to our board, item number 11, board reports and calendars. Who would like to go first?
Mr. Sheldon, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll try it. Let's go back to last week. Of course, we do this to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act and let you know where we will be, especially for upcoming meetings. I'll go back to the 27th. We did have a night meeting. I was here then, had a trip to Pasco for an Energy Northwest meeting with the PUD 1 and PUD 3 were in attendance. Let's see, was back in here for meetings in Olympia Thursday afternoon and attended a Washington National Guard reception that morning on Friday morning. Then met with some individuals from the Ridge Motorsports, had a nice tour. They're working on a corner, pouring some new asphalt, putting a curb in, and talk to those individuals about their plans out there and some of the work that's going on, quite a few pieces of equipment running. And then both of Joe Mankey and Rusty Gill traveled with me out to Little Rock Falls, and we had a tour of the hydro project that's going on. It's online right now, finally, and producing just about a megawatt and a quarter of power, which goes into the PUD. Of course, it's sold to PUD 1 and then into the BPA system. So it was quite exciting to see that running and a lot of the history that's there at that facility. We had some briefings here yesterday morning, and our county commission, Monday, and then our county commission today. I've got some transportation hearings this afternoon, as well as an energy meeting, and pretty much it'll be in Olympia the rest of this week.
Thank you. Commissioner?
So, let's see, on the 28th, the day after our evening meeting, I spent most of the morning and the day participating in the point-in-time homeless count, starting at the Shelton Food Bank there at Saints Pantry, and then at the Matlock Food Bank. And that's lots of folks, and just heard a lot of, they were very forthcoming on some of the struggles they have. Being able to survive, with no work and injuries. A lot of folks waiting to hear from Social Security Disability. Then came back here and met with a representative, Career Quest, who would like the county to consider hiring some folks with disabilities that they're having an effort to put back to work. And so we're going to continue to look for opportunities there. Met with Lynn Longan from our Economic Development Council on a couple of issues that have arisen. And then, along with, as was reported, with Commissioner Netherland, attended the State Parks presentation on 5 different options for land use for the Fudge Point Park. That was a packed house, and I thought it was interesting. Verbally and vocally, folks were pretty adamantly against having any overnight camping allowed. But then when folks were allowed to write down what their preferences were, it was about half and half. About half the people who said that they wouldn't mind camping. And so I think that that's just indicative of sometimes the crowd can kind of make it hard for you to say out loud what you think is a good use of that property. Met with the County Road Administration Board on appeal to on payback for the abandoned Island Lake project. Unfortunately, we didn't get all that we had hoped for, and then met with a constituent that evening. And then joined the folks at Watson Diesel for a photo op on Seahawk Pride on Friday. That was really fun. There was probably about 40 people all dressed in the gear. We had our briefings yesterday, and then this afternoon after our commission meeting, I will be meeting with a series of legislators, including Senator Sheldon, to discuss a funding proposal to do some research regarding the effect of the Hood Canal Bridge on salmon migration out to the ocean, as well as the water circulation that might affect the low dissolved oxygen. And then tomorrow I will be meeting with some business owners up in the Hoodsport area, including the IGA owners, the Purvises, just to get a feel for what's going on in the businesses up there and some of their challenges and how the county might be able to help them. Wednesday night, Blue Collar Agency, who has potentially will be our tourism marketing contractor, will do a presentation for tourism stakeholders at Alderbrook to roll out their proposed marketing plan for tourism. And then the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee will see that same presentation on Thursday, and so we'll have that meeting. And there potentially will be a proposal and recommendation from the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee to this commission about awarding that contract to them. There's also a meeting of the Foundation for Hope, who is a group, a nonprofit who are supporting our therapeutic courts, and then I'll be meeting with Brian Matthews, our Public Works Director, on Friday. And then Sunday is the Mason Transit Authority annual employee meeting, and all of the board members have been asked to attend, and I will be attending a portion of that on Sunday. Back for briefings on Monday the 9th.
Alliance of a Healthy South Sound pre-executive meeting with the Pierce County Executive to talk about some of the things going on there and the transfer of the chair. Also then attended a Alliance of Healthy South Sound meeting, executive board meeting, where we're trying to work on funding models in order to actually get some restoration and habitat improvements done. I met with, of all things, a candidate for a governor, which surprised me that we're already out and about, but they are, and they've asked me to meet with them, so I had met with them last week. Attended that meeting at Harsteen Island for the state park at Fudge Point. I spoke with some of the individuals after the meeting, and some of them that were very strong in favor of the all-night camping were from Pierce County and Kitsap County. They came specifically for that purpose because they travel with the commissioners and stuff. And I was surprised by that afterwards. It made a little more sense afterwards that a few of them were the same all the time, that they had come specifically for that purpose, which is understandable, and they're allowed to. And they actually pointed out something that regardless of how we would like to feel about it, it is a Washington State park for the people of Washington State, purchased with the money from the people of Washington State for that purpose. That was brought up, and one of those people had said that on their card, and it's a little hard to deny that. It's something we have to take into consideration. But I myself, personally, I believe in the smaller version of it, especially in the very beginning. There's no funding anyway, and protect some of the landowners that are out there. They have some great concerns about the impact that it'll have on their lifestyle. We've seen as commissioners with Coulter Creek and the stuff that has happened out there with them walking into people's homes and blocking up all the roads, that we know that there is an impact regardless of how much they want to prevent that impact from affecting everybody. It will. Everybody's been trying to keep that from happening, and you can't. Once it starts, it starts. So how it's designed will definitely have an impact. If we can keep it away from the water, less people are going to be utilizing it that way. Let's see, also West Sound Alliance Legislation Day. We went down to talk about our transportation projects for that West Sound Alliance group, which is this whole upper region. And I would like to say that this is one of the best ones I had ever attended. The support was so obvious. Even people that don't usually get along are coming in and unifying behind this. One example, and I hate to throw it out there, is Commissioner Sheldon sent a letter requesting and asking for support on the Belfair bypass. And Senator Christina Rolfes from the other side, she actually, because of this, signed it and is supporting of it. It's things like that that's going to get some of these projects done. It'd be nice if all the money doesn't go to Seattle for a change, as Mr. Sheldon said over and over again, if it becomes rural projects. And apparently there's a huge push this year that money, the monies that are put together, if it happens, will be rural. A great portion will be rural this time. So some good work you've done there, and it's very much appreciated. Sewer Advisory Board members still working on the proposals, and Legislative Steering Committee conference call for our Association of Counties. We've had our regular briefings yesterday, and then I have a ACA meeting, Allen Community Association meeting. I have the Legislative Steering Committee where I'll spend all Thursday at least out there in Olympia all day. So if you're around, we may see each other and testify for what's needed in order to help the counties. I appreciate the work you've done there as well. I have a West Sound Alliance Steering Committee meeting, which is that transportation committee for that region, and the West Sound Alliance stakeholder meeting. The most amazing thing about this West Sound Alliance is, again, I've mentioned before, the participation that takes place. We're talking about the mayors of Bainbridge Island, Paulsbo, Bremerton, Port Orchard, Gig Harbor. We're talking Kitsap County, Mason County Commissions, Pierce County Commissions. We're talking about EDCs for the regions, transportation, the transit organizations from the region. All of them get together, and the most amazing thing about it is when we have our stakeholder meetings, they all show. Every time they show. It's kind of amazing. We've had one miss one here, one miss one, but for the most part, they're always all there. And that's one of the great reasons why this has all held together. I have a meeting with the EPA. I will be attending the LTAC meeting with Blue Collar at the request of Commissioner Jeffries. I will also be at the Mason Transit Authority employee breakfast, and then I have a left board meeting that brings us back to our briefings and back to here. Is there anything further that you would like to add?
Just had one comment. You mentioned that you were at the meeting for state parks, talking about the proposal for Fudge Point. You know, this is just how things have changed. It used to be a law that if the state had operated a state park, it would have to be served by a state highway. And that's changed. So think of the impact that we have now if a new state park comes in on, it's a fairly remote area, Harstein Point. Yeah. The road isn't that great out there. We've got a bridge to deal with, Pickering Road. So years ago, if the state wanted that as a state park, they'd have to turn those roads into state highways and maintain them. So it's changed, and now the locals have the obligation of maintaining the transportation infrastructure, and it's a burden.
And the other infrastructure, such as fire and police, sheriff's department. You know, I spoke with the gentleman who's running it. He's a very nice man. He does a great job. I love watching how he actually deals with people when they're angry and stuff. I'm pretty impressed with him, to be honest with you. But talking to him afterwards, I try to get him to understand that he thinks that if something occurs, they have their park rangers that can handle it. But the truth is, if somebody goes off of that land to go into somebody's house like happens at Coulter Creek or any of these other things, or if a fight breaks out just outside of it, that's not the sheriff, that's not the park ranger, that's the sheriff. And even if the park ranger does arrest somebody, who are they going to call to come get them? They're not going to be bringing them in, they're calling the sheriff. And either way you look at it, there will be an impact on our roads, on the fire departments, on our sheriff's department, and just on their way of living out there. So the impact is real. But now, something we have to remember, the Parks Department does not buy land for conservation. That's not their purpose. And they don't sell land. It's almost impossible because usually the grants don't allow it. But if they did, we don't have a conservation group that's lined up to buy it. So the other option would be somebody else in the private sector buy it. That has an impact too if they were to build homes. It's not an easy thing that we deal with, or those poor people have to deal with. It's some hard decisions. Anything further? Then we will go ahead and move back to item number 9, which is our public hearing. We will open up a public hearing. This is a public hearing to consider amending the utility franchise agreement between Sandy's Waterfront LLC and Mason County. Staff, Loretta Swanson, is not the one doing it.
You just get me today, Commissioner Melissa McFadden, Mason County Public Works. This revision, this amendment to the franchise agreement adds the ability for a water line to cross North Shore Road to reach Sandy's Waterfront LLC and the 4, what are we calling them, mobile homes or, yeah, mobile homes, we'll stick with that are along the waterfront there. So there's an existing, well, they will drill a new 2-party well on the opposite side of the road, cross the road and access the 4 homes there. Are there any questions?
Commissioners?
Just for the public's knowledge, will the road then be, will they break through the asphalt, or will they drill through underneath the road?
They will not cut the road, so they're planning to push underneath the road.
What's that called? Is that the official
Mole
word,
or
push?
drill, or there are a lot of different terms that you can use, but yeah, we call it usually, it's a push. Unless they call, then it's not a push.
Well, thank you.
Are there any questions from the public at all? Any further questions from the commission? Then we will close the staff part of the public hearing and move into public testimony. Is there any public testimony at this time? Public testimony? Hearing none, we'll close public testimony and move into commission deliberations. Commissioners, is there any deliberation?
Well, it's a standard procedure, and I appreciate Melissa's letting us know about it and holding the hearing and giving information that's relevant. It's water and wastewater usually go hand in hand, and part of that is the wastewater line that's over there as well, isn't it? Yeah.
It's already, they've
Already.
already got their
So-
single occupancy permit
Yeah.
in, so this is just an amendment.
So I'm comfortable with it.
I have no questions, and I'm comfortable with it as well.
Then I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that the Board of County Commissioners amend franchise agreement between Mason County and Sandy's Waterfront LLC, adding 1 1/4 inch water line under North Shore Road at approximately milepost 16 between parcel numbers 32220-50-02091, 32220-50-02008, and parcel numbers 32220-50-02007.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second the Commissioner's motion.
Is there any discussion? It's been moved and seconded for the approval for the county commissioners to approve the franchise agreement between Mason County and Sandy's Waterfront LLC, adding a 1 1/4 water line under the North Shore Road at approximately milepost 16 between parcel numbers 32220-50-02091, 32220-50-02008, and parcels number 3220-50-02007. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries and the public hearing is closed. With that being said, that is, knowing that was coming up, that's why I read the warrants and didn't, because I knew you guys were going to have to carry a load as it was.
All those
So,
numbers.
is there anything further to come before this commission?
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
We are adjourned. Thank you for coming, everybody.